Good morning. I pray that your Sunday was filled with places and spaces of joy, of peace, of happiness. Whew. I guess by now most of us have heard about the slap that was heard around the world, the Oscars last night. Apparently, Chris Rock, a comedian, was making fun of Jada Pinkett Smith and her husband Will. Got triggered. And that's the title for me, triggered. Sometimes it just happens so quickly. As someone who has over almost 30 years of experience working in the area of trauma, I have the right to call myself a trauma expert because I have done this work for such a long time. And as I began to process what happened, one thing I'm clear about: Will Smith became triggered. And there's a couple of things that kind of impact that. He recently wrote a book called Will, in which he talks about the domestic violence that he witnessed with his dad, geared towards his mom and himself and his siblings. And he talks in great length about feeling powerless, being a kid and not being able to defend his mom. And then he plays the role of Serena Venus's father in the movie King Richard, this man who is very protective over his family and will go to whatever lengths he needs to go to make sure his family is respected. And I suspect, because I've worked for so many years, particularly with men, because my population that I've worked with for the last 7 years before I retired were military veterans, primarily men who have been deployed, who have been in war situations. And even the women I've worked with, what they all report is in the beginning, they have the tendency to go from 0 to 10 immediately. When they get angry, there's a point when they get triggered, and the next thing they know, they are on level 10. And in a lot of instances, they don't even really remember what happened until the dust settles. I've had people report that something happens, they got triggered, and the next thing they knew, somebody's laying on the ground and they have blood on their knuckles or whatever, and everyone else is looking at them like, what just happened? And some people, and even I was thinking maybe, Will Smith and Chris Rock had some beef before this, and maybe they did. But I really want us to focus on the idea of what happens when you get triggered. And if you have been traumatized or have a history of trauma, pervasive trauma, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That when you get triggered, the next thing you know, you are doing something that when you look back, it's like, I can't believe I did that. When you get triggered driving and someone cuts you off, the next thing you know, you playing cat and mouse with them. The next thing you know, I've had people report they followed the person home. I've had people report to me when they got cut off, they followed the person to the gas station and then did knock them out. When you get triggered, folk go from 0 to 100 without even thinking. And that's exactly what I think happened last night for Will Smith. I'm glad that it was no more than just a smack and that he did not get caught up, and it became a much more possibly bloody affair. And I'm not condoning what he did by any stretch of the imagination, but I am saying that I understand. And I am saying, and this is the point of this video, that if you have found yourself going from 0 to 100, if you have found yourself getting triggered and then behaving in ways that even you don't even recognize, if you found yourself being much more harsh towards your children before you even realized what you were doing, if you found yourself cussing out the people in the grocery store from one end to the other before you realized it really wasn't that deep. If you found yourself in that situation, there is help for you. There is help. One of the methods that we use in a therapeutic setting is helping people to begin to recognize when they are becoming triggered. And people will say, well, it just happened so quick I couldn't catch it. And yes, it does. But with time and practice, you can begin to recognize when you are becoming triggered. And so instead of going from 0 to 10, you may start going from 0 to 8. You may start going from 0 to 5. You may begin to even catch yourself so that your response is totally different than what it used to be. My prayer is that Will take some time to process the events with his therapist. I've read on social media another take on it saying that it's about time that a man took up for a woman. And I agree with that, because a lot of times as women, no one takes up for us. But I also firmly believe with every ounce of my being that we're not just talking about someone taking up for his woman, but someone who has been triggered. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have a wonderful day and try to find some joy today. Love you all. Bye-bye.